This program is sponsored by North Valley Church of Christ.
There's a message true and glad for the sinful and the sad. Ring it out, ring it out, ring it out, ring it out. It will give them courage new, it will help them to be true. Ring it out, ring it out, ring it out, ring it out.
Good afternoon, folks, and welcome back to another episode of Redeeming the Time. I'm your host, Chris Macy, and I'm the minister here with the North Valley Church of Christ. We're going to be taking a look at Revelation chapter 6. I know I'm still by myself on the program. I haven't got things set up with Sage or Steve or anyone else. I apologize. I keep saying I'm going to do it, but I'm not going to say I'm going to do it again next week because I just don't know. I got so many things I'm trying to get caught up on on my plate. We just finished up the men's retreat up at Copper Basin Bible Camp. Truett Adair from Sunset was there to speak. Many of the ministers here from the Valley spoke. John Rowe, David Parks, James Walker from the Tonto congregation, and others as well. And a lot of folks showed up. 84 men showed up on Friday night, and 87 showed up on Saturday. What an awesome blessing that is to the Word, and for the men of us that showed up to hear the Word, and it was just great. I wish it could have kept going, but we had to come home and get back to it, get back to the work, and that was a good time. Here in the North Valley congregation, we've been studying the book of Revelation on Sunday nights. We're coming to a close on that. We only have chapters 21 and 22 left. And so I've been giving some thought to what I'll be doing after I finish these studies there. And I think what I'm going to do is work through the life of David. I've done a series in the past called A Man After God's Own Heart. I think I only did about 6 or 7 lessons. But this time I want to work through the whole life of David. That's quite a bit. A whole lot. He is the second most talked about man in the Bible. The first being Jesus. David comes in number 2. So I'm thinking about doing that. On our Sunday morning class, we've been doing Romans, and I have one chapter left. Romans chapter 16 I'll be doing on Sunday. And after that, I'm going to start working through 1st and 2nd Thessalonians. I'm looking forward to that. But you're not here to hear about that. You're here to hear about the next chapter of Revelation. Revelation chapter 6. We've already looked at the other chapters. If you haven't missed one of those, please go to our website, www.nvcoc.net. Click on that radio mic. You can find the introduction and then chapters 1 through 5 on Revelation there, as well as another whole host of other lessons we've done here on the radio program. One of the more engaging ones was the one on gun control and Romans 13:14 and the American Revolution. That was a great study and lesson as well. I enjoyed doing that. Now in chapter 3 and 4, is that right? Nope. Chapters 2 and 3, that's where we had the 7 letters to the 7 churches of Asia. I believe those are congregations where any congregation of any generation can be categorized into one of those. Chapter 4 gives us that scene in heaven. We see God sitting on his throne. Chapter 5, you got that scroll, which is the book, called the book in the New American Standard, but it's a scroll written on both sides. It's the Word, it's the mind and heart of God. They have his will for man here on earth. And they're looking for one who can open it. It's the Lamb. He's the only one who is worthy to break the 7 seals and open the scroll. Now, chapter 6 that we're going to look at today is the breaking of the first 6 seals to that scroll. Now, remember, this is a vision. This is imagery here, so it's not literal. So each seal represents different things in the vision, and we're going to take a look at that now. Let's start by looking at verses 1 and 2. Well, remember, the book here this scroll refers to the purpose and plan or mind of God. Let me give you a few things here. So the opening or the breaking of the seals of this book indicates revealing and executing. So just because it doesn't have all the seals broken doesn't mean nothing's being executed. It's a vision, but in the vision, that's what it indicates. Each broken seal indicates a revealing and an executing of God's will from that book. And so we're given this vision, a vision here of what has happened, what is happening, and what will happen in the world from the perspective of God, not the perspective of the world. Keep that in mind. Verses 1 and 2. John writes, "Then I saw when the Lamb broke one of the 7 seals, and I heard one of the 4 living creatures saying, as with a voice of thunder, 'Come.' I looked, and behold, a white horse, and he who sat on it had a bow, and a crown was given to him, and he went out conquering and to conquer." All right, so he opens the Lamb opens the first seal. We know the Lamb, that's Jesus, that represents him. You have the white horse in this first seal. Horses are associated throughout Scripture with war, strength, conquest, triumph. The white is associated with what is holy and pure. Likely it's a picture of Christ coming forth to conquer spiritually. It's a vision, so it's okay for him to be the Lamb and to be the person on the horse. That's fine. It's part of the vision. So he's on a heavenly mission. Some want to say that this is the Roman military. That does not fit. Not at all. It's God's perspective. It's his will for man here on the earth. This has got to be the Christ. He has a crown. It is the victory crown. He has a bow. Certainly a military weapon, but of long range. Swords are used for short range. The vision of the white horse seems to refer to all that Christ has done and is now doing in the church for the redemption of man. The widespread proclamation of the gospel. Verses 3 and 4. When he broke the second seal, I heard the second living creature saying, "Come." And another red horse went out, and to him who sat on it, it was granted to take peace from the earth, and that men would slay one another, and a great sword was given to him. So a red horse here. With the word peace in this verse, we are seeing warfare. Red is often the symbol of war and the spilling of blood. Is it a physical war? Likely it is not a war between nations, but a war against Christ, a war against his followers. There's that word slay. It is not the usual term John uses to refer to killing in war, but a term often used with reference to the death of Christ or the execution of believers. Sword. The Greek word here used is a short sword referring to the sacrificial knife. The vision here of the red horse seems to refer to the persecution of Christians wherever the gospel has gone. And that makes the most sense to me. Sorry, I kind of stumbled through that a little bit. Had some things happening here. But that's what's going on. This is the persecution against Christians. So the second seal is broken, and that's what we're seeing. Okay, so now let's look at the third seal, verses 5 and 6. When he broke the third seal, I heard the third living creature saying, "Come." I looked, and behold, a black horse, and he who sat on it had a pair of scales in his hand, and I heard something like a voice in the center of the 4 living creatures saying, "A quart of wheat for a denarius, and 3 quarts of barley for a denarius, and do not damage the oil and the wine." Interesting, right? Black horse, that symbolizes grief and mourning. You got the pair of scales to measure out bread by weight, refers to economic hardship. A quart of wheat, and that's high. These are high prices, yet not yet famine prices. It appears you can get all the wheat you want, but it's going to cost you. This seems to indicate that a certain class of people are going to be hard pressed in a time of plenty. It says, "Do not harm the oil and the wine." These represent the comforts of life, possessions of the rich. They are obviously beyond the reach of people who can barely provide bread. The vision of the black horse seems to refer to the injustices done to those who follow Christ, those who refuse to compromise what they believe. They're not bowing to the emperor's image, They will be persecuted, and they will suffer loss economically. Now, again, this goes to what I've been saying, that Revelation applies to the present day, or the day of John's people, their persecution and the hardships, but also to every generation, even for us today. Some people want to raise the price on things, or actually, maybe that's not the right way to say it. If you're a Christian and you own a business and you don't provide services for groups that you don't feel comfortable providing a service for because of the immorality of it, they want to make you lose that business. That's an economic hardship. They don't think you should be allowed to do that. They think you need to do what they want you to do. And so we're being marginalized, not marginalized, but put into a class where if you're a Christian and you follow these particular standards, it's going to cost you something. So we see that again happening in our generation, the black horse. The fourth seal, verses 7 and 8. When the Lamb broke the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth living creature saying, "Come." I looked, and behold, an ashen horse, and he who sat on it had the name Death, and Hades was following with him. Authority was given to them over a fourth of the earth, to kill with sword and with famine and with pestilence and by the wild beasts of the earth. Man, ouch. So the ashen horse, that's the color. The color here is indistinct. The Greek term is used 4 times in the New Testament. It's usually translated as green. Some translators make it pale, the pale horse, or an ashen horse. You maybe remember that Clint Eastwood movie, right? On a pale horse. Perhaps it's a sickly pale in color, representing disease and death. Death is the rider. He's indicated here. He helps us with the horse's color. Hades, the unseen world of the dead. So death rides through, taking lives. Hades follows, gathering them up. Over a fourth of the earth. This is a portion of those who live on the globe, not limited to Christians here, but all people affected. But note the limits. 1/4, indicating that there is an authority over death and over Hades. The term for sword here is the military sword, not the sacrificial sword from earlier. This is the military sword, a symbol for earthly war. Famine, that usually follows the sword in war. The aftermath of war typically brings a famine. Pestilence, plagues, often follow after a famine. Wild beasts, people may become easy prey after the devastations of war, because after devastation of war, even the wild beasts are looking for food too, and they're going to start coming in, taking people. So the vision of the ashen horse seems to symbolize the suffering that is common to all men due to war. So Christians will also be involved in this kind of suffering. However, it could refer to Christ's judgment upon the pagan world for their mistreatment of people. In Old Testament times, God often brought war against the nations in judgment upon them. The fifth seal, verses 9, 10, and 11. When the Lamb broke the fifth seal, I saw underneath the altar the souls of those who had been slain because of the word of God and because of the testimony which they had maintained. And they cried out with a loud voice, saying, "How long, O Lord, holy and true, will you refrain from judging and avenging our blood on those who dwell on the earth?" And there was given to each of them a white robe, and they were told that they should rest for a little while longer, until the number of their fellow servants and their brethren who were to be killed, even as they had been, would be completed also. All right. So verse 9, you have those who are underneath the altar. Here souls are seen who had been slain because of their adherence to the Word of God. This depicts sacrifice, as the blood of animals was poured out in sacrifice at the base of the altar in burnt offerings. That's Leviticus chapter 4, verse 7. These have offered their lives as sacrifices to the cause of Christ. They're calling for something. We're going to see that here in a moment. So you get the Lord is mentioned here in the Greek, meaning master or absolute Lord. They're crying out to Him. They're crying for vengeance. They're crying for justice. They are concerned about the justice of God. In the slaughtering of them, the world, those who dwell on the earth, they've scorned God. And they're saying, hey, how long is this going to happen? They're scorning you, God, and they continue to do this. What's going on? We're asking for justice. Remember, this is a vision. This is one of the seals. So it's showing to us something here. We're going to go over the whole bit of it here in just a moment. But don't forget that this is a vision, not literal, but these are things that are happening not only in the days of John and those Christians there, but every generation. Don't we sometimes feel this way? Don't we sometimes feel like, hey, why isn't God bringing justice? Be patient. Or actually, let's go ahead and move on. He's going to tell them to be patient. So they're given a white robe, symbolizing holiness, righteousness, purity, and victory. They're given rest. It's a time of waiting. Their cries have been heard, but the time of final judgment has not yet come. It's going to come until the number, all of God's saved. God knows how many, and He knows when this life will be over. Let me finish this up, and I want to hit on that in just a moment. But the fifth seal shows that those who die for the cause are safe, having won a victory over those who oppose Christ and the gospel. They are no longer on earth and have not reached the eternal abode, but they are at rest. They're in the Hadean realm, and they're waiting. And while they're waiting, they're calling for justice, and God says, oh, here, take this, here's your rest. But wait, it's not time yet. And the time, God knows, He knows when all the saved have died and all that are going to be. I believe, now it's, no matter what, the coming of Christ, the second coming, is going to come like a thief in the night. Only the Father knows when that time will be. And I think that time is going to be this: when the last person who's going to follow Christ wholeheartedly is baptized. You see, God knows who that is going to be. He knows when the earth is no longer going to produce Christians. And if the earth is no longer going to produce any more Christians, then guess what? What good is the earth? None. As long as men and women are coming to God in faith by being baptized into Christ, there's opportunity there. God's going to leave the earth. It's producing the way He wants. But one day He's going to come to that vine. He's going to say, hey, this vine isn't producing anymore. And it's time to cut it, the fig tree, it's time to cut it down and throw it into the fire. Be rid of it. It's no longer producing. I shouldn't say the vine because I don't want to misquote what's happening there. That's not a good illustration there, but the fig tree, that's a better one. Anyway, I think that's what's going to happen, and I think that's how it's going to end. But that's my opinion. Take it with a grain of salt. Just chew on that. Think about that. That's the fifth seal. The sixth seal, verses 12 to 17. I looked when He broke the sixth seal, and there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth made of hair, and the whole moon became like blood. And the stars of the sky fell to the earth, as a fig tree casts its unripe figs when shaken by a great wind. The sky was split apart like a scroll when it is rolled up, and every mountain and island were removed out of their places. Then the kings of the earth and the great men and the commanders and the rich and the strong and every slave and free man hid themselves in the caves and among the rocks of the mountains. And they said to the mountains and to the rocks, fall on us and hide us from the presence of Him who sits on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of their wrath has come, and who is able to stand? Okay. So you got the earthquake there in verse 12. That's a sign of judgment from God. The sun's black, the moon's blood, definite references and symbols of final judgment. We see that all throughout the New Testament as well. Christians would readily understand these signs and not worry. But if you're not a Christian, this would freak you out, right? This would worry you. Now, verses 13 to 17. Note the significance of the number 6 here. The number 6 is the number for man, okay? That's because man was created on the 6th day. Numbers have symbolism in Revelation, and the number 6 is for men, and this is the 6th seal. So the 6th seal deals with man, but it is God's judgment upon the earth. So note the 7s. So you got this dealing with man, 6, the 6th seal, and then the 7 objects of creation. You got earthquake, sun, moon, stars, sky, the mountain, and the island. That's 7. Then you have the 7 classes of men. Kings of the earth, great men, commanders, rich, strong, slaves, and freemen. That's 7. And what do? They hide themselves. They're trying to escape the judgment of God, but there is no escape. The picture of those caught red-handed, and they're without excuse. The vision of the 6th seal seems to picture the final judgment. The 5th seal pictured the Christians as safe in heaven, allowing for God to send judgment on the world, and what the world dished out against God's people ultimately returns to it. So the 6th seal seems to be referencing the idea of final judgment. But we're going to be seeing this replayed over and over again, but this is to show God's people that there's encouragement here. You'll see that, especially as we continue to work through Revelation. It's encouraging for the Christians to see these things. God's not going to leave them with no justice. They're going to win. Yeah, hardship here in the world, but don't lose sight of the fact that Christ has already won. Let me give you a summary of the 6 seals, the revealing of God's eternal purpose here. Number 1. The gospel goes forth and disciples are won. That is the first broken seal. And of course, as soon as that happens, we see this in the book of Acts at the beginning, and it continues to this day. The 2nd through the 4th seals is the persecution of the disciples by the world and the suffering of the Christian. This happens throughout every single generation. And it continues to happen. It happened back then, happens today. The 5th seal is the victory of those who are faithful. And the 6th seal is God brings final judgment on the earth. First century Christians who were enduring persecution would find encouragement in seeing the whole picture. What they endured now was not to be compared with what was coming. It's a lot like what happened to Joseph. You know, Joseph was Jacob's favorite son. He gave him that multicolored coat, and went out to go check on his brothers as his father asked him to do. And they took him, they beat him, they threw him in a pit, and eventually sold him as a slave. He got taken down to Egypt, sold into prison, sold as a slave to Potiphar. And while he was there, he got accused of wrongdoing that he did not do, and thrown into prison. Life looks horrible. This is not what he expected. But he kept on keeping on for the Lord, didn't he? He didn't give up. He couldn't see the whole picture, but he never stopped trying. And then when he finally could see the whole picture, I think that's right there at the end when he was trying to take Benjamin back and he saw the change in his brothers, he received the victory, didn't he? He became the second most powerful man in Egypt and in the world. And he saved his own family. You can see the parallels there. That's the way it is for the Christian. Sometimes it's hard for us to see the whole picture, but the book of Revelation is here to give us the whole picture. God wins. He's already won. We just need to stand firm. Continue to strive for the good word, the gospel. Don't give up, right? Keep on keeping on for the Lord. Now, next week, I'll probably will be doing Chapter 7, and then hopefully after that, I'll get somebody on the program here with me. But I don't want to leave this open. But Chapter 7 doesn't get us to the 7th seal, does it? No, there's a little interlude. He's going to go and show something about his people. This is another encouraging chapter, and then it's going to be the 7th seal, which is going to be about the seven trumpets, which is great. I love the book of Revelation. I hope you're finding good encouragement with this. please go to our website, www.nvcoc.net. Click on that radio mic. Listen to the other programs on Revelation. Get caught up. Listen to the other things we have. And if you want to leave comment, you can email me at Chris Macy, ChrisMacy, @outlook.com. Follow us on Facebook. I have our radio program on there, Redeeming the Time. And I post these programs on there. Leave us a comment. Ask some questions. I'm more than willing to go back and answer those things. So I hope to find that there from you. Thank you for being here with me, and I hope the Lord blesses you in all that you do as you continue to strive for the truth and making the most of every opportunity. Let us always redeem the time.
Ring it out, ring it out, ring it out.
This program was sponsored by North Valley Church of Christ. To hear this program again, go to FamilyValuesRadio1010.com and click on the podcast page and find this program and many others right there on FamilyValuesRadio1010.com.